We are now live. Look all right? I'm going to share on my personal page. Does this every time. I usually set myself to public now because I don't everybody see stuff. Usually it shows someone watching. I don't see anybody. I guess nobody's watching. Oh, I see that. Okay. Yeah, I shared it on my personal page. Still on the show, right? It's just us watching, so. And it may be a slow night, who knows? A lot of people coming in now. Give it another minute. That's not really straight, isn't it? Does it look kind of crooked to you?
Yeah, you can tell it's kind of like lean like this way, just kind of straighten it up from where the camera is.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Oh, okay.
first one.
There's everyone that started for time's sake.
36 so far, yeah.
I'll cut it out. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 32 of Texas Soccer Live. No Richard today, but as always, you have myself, Sean Telez, alongside Raul Villarreal, coming at you with our 32nd episode, our last one before we close out year 3. 3 years almost on the books, and we're going to start year 4. We're going to talk about that sometimes throughout the show, but just a quick kind of shout out and reminder, we're really excited about kicking off year 4, right? We're going to have our second annual crawfish boil on Saturday, March 14th. That's 2 weeks from this Saturday. We'll be doing a live show at 3 p.m. Saturday, and then going straight into having a little bit of fun and having our crawfish boil, which was a lot of fun last year. Good times with good people. So if you're interested in coming out to the crawfish bowl, if you're interested in joining us at the live show, it's a fun show to come to because we'll be hanging out afterwards. Hit us up, hit up the page. It's an event on the page, so tell us you're coming on there. Message myself, message Raul, message even Richard, anybody, and let us know so we can get a count. We'll be cooking up some good crawfish, lots of good food, lots of good drinks, so we're looking forward to that. We'll start promoting that next week. You'll see we'll be updating our logo. Richard's been doing some great work with the branding and some other logo stuff in our new shirts for year 4. Speaking of Richard, we also want to note that go check out the last post. He's been doing these little mini episodes, and he did his first one. If you're interested in women's soccer, either U.S. or in Mexico or even globally, he did a great segment on that. He also does segments in Spanish. So Richard, even though he's across the country from us, shout out to Richard. He's doing a good job of posting some stuff, posting some content for y'all to enjoy and interact with. So he'll be back with us towards the end of the semester. He'll be here hopefully for our May, June, July shows as we hit it up for the summer. So with further ado, we're gonna give you the quick rundown, and then we'll see what's on Raul's mind today. But we're going to start by talking about all things champions. We got 2 different Champions Leagues to talk about. Obviously, the big one being in Europe, but also CONCACAF champions. We're going to talk a little bit about the Dynamo, who kick off their season this Saturday. The MLS is underway, so talk about what our expectations are there. Number 3, we'll shift gears. Liga MX, another unpredictable roller coaster as always, but we are 7 games in. So we're approaching the halfway mark. Not almost that there, but approaching the halfway mark of Liga MX. And then lastly, we'll give you an update on what's going on in Europe as they are getting into their last kind of quarter or so, third to a quarter of league play in the major European leagues. So, how you been?
Been pretty good. Just keeping up with soccer. A lot of downs so far, but there's also been a lot of surprises in other soccer that I've been watching besides Liga MX. You obviously have Champions League, which is probably one of the biggest tournaments to watch in soccer besides the World Cup, but that's not going on. But I mean, you have news coming up here about Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus. You got Man City. You got a lot of stuff coming up. So there's been a lot of soccer news. Not many big transfers going on in the market. Nothing new. That's not going to happen until the summer. But yeah, overall everything's pretty good. Soccer's been interesting, and I'm glad that it's back and it's something to keep up with. You know?
Well, definitely. Let's speaking of, you mentioned Champions League. Let's jump right into it and look at. We felt like we were waiting forever for this because we announced it like 2 episodes ago. The round of 16 finally kicked off. Elimination rounds here. Almost all the way through. We're down. We have still got 2 more games of Leg 1, but Leg 1's almost finished. We're gonna go through kind of each one here. let's do the ones that have already been played and look at if we think there's what's going to happen in Leg 2. So, first matchup that has already happened, and I think one of the first shockers right off the bat for a lot of people. Atletico Madrid was matched up against Liverpool, and Atletico Madrid came out playing right. Ended up winning 1-0, got an earlier goal, parked the bus, if you will, on them. And Liverpool couldn't answer it, even how they've been coming in late in the games. So once again, Leg 2 is going to shift back in a couple weeks here. Kind of what is your reaction to that Atletico Madrid? Finally, it's the first time I think I've seen a score that had Liverpool in the loss column.
It's kind of surprising to see Liverpool lose a game like that, especially them being the reigning champions from last year's. But I feel like for Liverpool, this was one of those games where I feel like I think they're just starting to get like tired after the way that they've been playing. They've been getting some wins, and some have been like hard fought wins. Some of them are easy wins, but I feel like Liverpool kind of started slowing down a bit, and this was one of those games where it was like, all right, you have to understand they have to lose one game. They just can't go and tear every team apart. So I think this was one of those games where they like kind of fell short and they lost. But I feel like they're going to be able to turn it around and get the win that they need to advance. I mean, although it would be nice to see Atletico Madrid advance, because it's always a sad story with Atletico Madrid in Champions League, but like
Period. League.
I mean, you've seen Liverpool, the way they've been playing. I think this was just one of those games. It was just one of those bad days for them, but will they be able to come back from it? Yeah, no doubt. It's Liverpool.
Well, and it's definitely it's going to shift back home if that plays any advantage into things to assure what will be a fired up Liverpool crowd. I will say this: I do agree with you though. If you look at Liverpool of late, going back the last 2 months or about December, they continue to win games in both, especially in the Premier League, and you saw the World Cup of Clubs and whatnot. But they're talking about a team that looks like they're running out of steam. They've been winning, but they've been winning late, and they've been relying on that late goal. In this case, they did the same tactic, and it didn't happen to them. I thought hats off to Atletico Madrid. My one critique of Atletico Madrid is I think they had them on their heels. I think Atletico Madrid could have tried to get another goal here. I think they could have pushed them. I think they tried a little bit, but I think they got in the second half. They knew that Liverpool was going to come at them late. I think they definitely went with a kind of a defensive strategy in the second half, kind of parking the bus. Let's get out of here with our 1-0 win. I kind of would want to see Atletico Madrid, and like I said, we'll see. It may come back to bite them because one goal is only one goal. You're going back to Liverpool at Liverpool. They're going to be kicking themselves if Liverpool edges them by one goal.
I think it was just more of them. Being able to walk away with a win instead of a tie. So I mean, I can see why they could have parked the bus. Like, hey, let's just take the win that we can instead of giving them a last minute goal and walking away with a tie. Because walking away with a win, that's more of you're putting Liverpool in a spot to where they have to go out. They're basically going to go out and play desperately. I mean, not when it starts, but if they can't get a goal by halftime, that second half they're going to come out just swinging, trying to get whatever they can.
True.
So I think it was more of like a tactic than okay, let's just try and walk away with a win and see if we can get them against the ropes and see what we can do.
Yeah, I got you. Well, like I said, I think I'm going to be on the 11th. Moving forward, another game we'll see Leg 2 on the 11th of March is Dortmund versus PSG. Dortmund was at home in this first round, came out with the victory 2-1. I will say this, we've oftentimes, at least I have been critical of Dortmund on this show in that they don't come through in big moments. As I said, one goal, over one goal more than PSG. Once again, you're going back to... you're now going back to France, play a PSG team at home. You got a 1-goal win. What are your thoughts on Dortmund able to close this out, or do you think PSG is going to catch back up with them?
I don't think PSG is going to advance. I don't know. For some reason, I have this feeling like PSG is slowly going down. They aren't, like, the hype that they had around them before isn't the same. I feel like the talent-wise it kind of died off a bit. It's just not the same PSG team that you used to see before. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, and I think it's time for Dortmund to, hey, you got it now. Go and close in advance. I would rather see Dortmund advance because PSG has just been chasing that dream year. I think it was the same year that they lost against Real Madrid.
Yeah,
where they lost the final. They've been after that dream. They went and got Neymar, and it still hasn't worked out for them. So I just feel like it's gonna die down for them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dortmund wins. And I would actually like to see Dortmund win.
Right, it'd be nice. Be a change of pace for them, not getting knocked out early. All right, next up was a battle of two underdogs, unlikely people to be in the round of 16, but there they are, and they get matched up against one another. From Serie A, you had Atalanta, and then from La Liga, you had Valencia. Atalanta came out firing, absolutely killing these guys. Gave up a goal, but 4-1 pretty handedly handed it to Valencia. Do you think there's any... I think Atalanta, that's a big momentum. It does shift back to Valencia. I know that crowd will be happy because they haven't seen their team in Champions League. You saw the celebrations when both teams got in. But this Atalanta team came out, looked like with a mission. It was dominant from the start. They scored 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. Nice even attack the whole time, and Valencia really had no answer for them.
Yeah, but for some reason Valencia never really caught my attention like that. They obviously, the league that they play in isn't. It's so competitive to where they can't really fight their way into it. But they've never really caught my attention like that. I feel like they were always one of the teams to where they played desperately. They never played by tactic. So I'm not really surprised by it. But, I guess it's more of like, hey, it's an experience thing. But Atlanta's always been a good team. It's just the teams that they always get paired up against or like in the groups that they're stuck in. It's just like, well, can we really go ahead and win?
Right.
Okay, can we actually get past this group stage?
Yeah.
But this is a chance for them. Like, all right, hey, it's not one of the hardest teams, but a win's a win, and if we advance, we'll see how it goes. Because they advance and the drawings are different. So
yeah, totally do draw who you get.
Yeah.
Going forward, the only home team out of the first 4 here, so we had home team win, home team win, home team win. First home team that couldn't get it done in leg 1 was Tottenham. The Spurs come out. They drop a 1-0 or 0-1 loss to RB Leipzig. Leipzig came in there, who's been playing very good in the Bundesliga. We'll talk about them at the very end. What's the story with the Spurs? Well, I feel like, once again, another team that's always there. Kind of we talked about Dortmund, but can't break through. And Tottenham, in my mind, relies heavily on their offense, and their offense just disappeared. Couldn't do anything against Leipzig. I don't even know what to say to that.
They're just like another PSG.
Yeah,
they were so hot, and then there came a point to where they kind of fell. And I guess once that, they're like the teams that they were the teams where the light was always shining on them, and now that it kind of shunned away from them, they kind of died out from it. Like, they kind of died out, and don't get me wrong, they have the talent, but it's just the way Champions League is. You can't really expect the same teams to be there. Who knows? They might be able to come back in advance. They could get the win, but who knows?
Very easily, and it'll be on the road in Leipzig, but we'll see how that goes. Today we had 2 matchups. The first one I'm not surprised by at all, honestly. I've never been high on Chelsea. I was surprised Chelsea hadn't been really showing me a lot. I'm sorry. Facing a pretty tough Bayern Munich team and lost 0-3 today. At home in England, Bayern came in. Lewandowski scored. Gnabry just scored twice. I'm sorry. I think Chelsea I don't think Chelsea even belonged in the round of 16 in my mind. I'm sorry. They just haven't been that impressive to me.
Before I give my thoughts on that, Rudy, we will talk about that shortly. We're going to get into Liga MX and all that in the next few segments. But, we'll get to that. But the whole Chelsea thing, it's like the teams that you've seen in Champions League, the big teams that everybody knew. Okay, you had Chelsea, you had Spurs, you had all these big teams. And then it kind of makes you think, okay, we started a new decade. Were those the teams of the decade last year. Now that we're starting a new
Right,
decade,
yeah.
are these new teams going to take over the decade? I mean, because Bayern. Oh, well, I mean, to be fair, Bayern has always been in the mix. I mean, they've gotten to the semis, quarters. Like, they've gotten close to the final. But Chelsea, they've never really gone down like that. So, it's kind of surprising. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe the time for these big teams that we're used to seeing, maybe their time is kind of dying out and they got to make some changes.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, I'm not surprised with Bayern. Bayern getting that win, I mean, well, they'll take it.
One last game we also had today this afternoon, I think it was a little frustrating for the visiting team, but Barcelona and Napoli played to a 1-1 draw. They will be going back to Barcelona for the second leg, but I do know there was some frustration. Vidal getting a red card at the very end of the game. It took them all the way until the 57th minute that Griezmann was able to score, and they actually were playing down for quite a while. Napoli was setting the pace. Once again, it's the same story you just said. Are we sensing a team that's on the decline? I think this Barca team going home, I do think they'll pull out the advance over Napoli, but Napoli can score, and they've been up there in Serie A. They've been overshadowed by Juventus, and unfortunately for them for the last couple of years. But once again, another quality Serie A team that's been up there.
Yeah. In this match, I don't think it's much of more of like Barcelona kind of falling. I just think Napoli is getting a lot better.
Yeah.
And they're what's it called? I think they're just getting better, and since they've always kind of been up there, I guess. And then with them playing like teams against Juventus and stuff like that, it kind of gives them a challenge. It's not like they're playing easy teams and then going on to play the hard team. They're facing teams that have been in the Champions League before. So I think that those guys are just getting better. And obviously Barcelona has had their ups and downs throughout the years. But I don't think Barcelona is one of those teams that is going to fall. I don't necessarily see that happen anytime soon. I don't think they're Real Madrid. I'm sorry, but Barcelona is not Real Madrid. So,
I saw the question from Rudy. What do you? It says John Champions. Do y'all think Chucky Lozano should have started? Why Gattuso played him? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about. I think both of us have mixed feelings about Chucky Lozano. Period.
Well,
but I mean,
don't get me wrong. He's a talented player, but it all just depends. Because you're playing. Okay, I can get why he would want to play, especially against a team like Barcelona, and then he could have got the win. But it just depends on where you can play him, because depending on who Barcelona's playing, you have to move around players to try and fit him in. He's talented, but I just feel like people kind of, I don't want to say blew him up, but he just needs to put in a little bit of more time getting into it, because it's like I said, it's kind of hard fitting him into a rotation to where he might not be able to fit, or trying to fit so many guys into one rotation to where it's not really going to work out, and it's just basically going to give, because he's an offensive player. That's basically taking out one defensive player, one midfield, and putting him in the offense. You're going to leave a big gap. We already know Barcelona takes advantage of those gaps. So I think it was just more of like a tactical thing. Where exactly do I fit him in?
And like I said, remember it's his first season with Napoli. I think there's a couple things that play into that. He hasn't had a ton of time, but I think it's just the taking a gamble on him, see if mix it up. It does make the other team have to adjust, and could have been a tactic to see if Barcelona, how they would respond. So, could go various ways. Tomorrow we have our last two of Leg 1. The first one is, I guess, my easiest question. Does Lyon from France have any chance against Juventus? Or because the monster that's become, what is it now? I think it was 11 consecutive games now for Ronaldo, something like that, scoring. And we all know Champions League Ronaldo. It's hard. I don't think anyone can really... If you're betting any money, I don't know why you would even think about betting against Juventus at this point.
No,
Not in this
Cristiano
round.
Ronaldo in Champions League, it's a monster that you cannot stop.
Right.
He's just too dominant. But obviously, Juventus will walk out of there with, I would say, at the most 3-0, but I'm gonna say maybe 2-0 win.
Yeah, I can see 3-0, kind of what we saw with Bayern versus Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, what started off being a very interesting matchup on paper, but I think is now that's even more interesting because other things off the field. But Real Madrid at home against Man City. We all saw the news with Man City. Now, enjoy it while you can, Man City, because next 2 years you ain't playing in this tournament, at least as of now. They may challenge it. The question is, I guess we want to get to it when we talk about this part of the show before we move on from European champions. Do you think that does anything for them motivation-wise? I mean, is it going to change how they approach this? Like, this is it? Like, this potentially could be it for the next 2 years. Here's our chance. Do we do it now? And then secondly, are they going to do it against Real Madrid? That's the question.
I think they could pull it off against Real Madrid, and I think that's some sort of motivation. Like, if we have to disappear for 2 years, why not disappear for 2 years by taking it all? Because, I mean, you've seen some of the big teams that are supposed to be up there. Man City's a talented team. We've seen the way they've played in Champions League, and we've seen how they've dominated the league before. So I think it's some sort of motivation, and I could actually see them trying to go for it all. And with them walking away, and they actually have to stay away for 2 years, that'll basically give Man City a laugh. Like, hey, we just won the whole thing. You banned us for 2 years. Like, now you can't have a team that's going to come back and try and go back to back.
Right.
Like before, we just took it away.
Definitely a game to watch tomorrow. It's at 2 p.m. If you have time, you're able to watch it. It's going to be interesting. The odds are pretty much split on these two teams right now. Man City has a little slight advantage in the odds and the betting right now, but tough to say. Not the case with Juventus, obviously. So we'll see leg one of that, and luckily, when next time we have our next show, we'll know half the field on the 14th. The first 4 games we talked about, they'll have their leg 2, and they'll be in to the final 8. And we'll have these last couple ones left to go over, so we'll be able to talk about that next time. Let's shift gears in Champions League, but now let's shift gears to CONCACAF. A little bit faster on this one, but some interesting matchups here. CONCACAF champions with their 16 kicked off earlier last week, the week before last. And leg 2 actually kicks off tonight. First 2 matchups that we'll see tonight is Cruz Azul and Portmore. Cruz Azul 1-2-1 in the first leg. They'll play again tonight. And the other one we'll see tonight is Motagua played Atlanta United to a 1-1 draw. My overall theme, I guess, for this year is that this one, unlike last year, a lot of surprises, a lot of ties, a lot of even matchups. Let's take them down in pairs. Let's start with those first 2. Cruz Azul, Atlanta United, obviously the 2 favorites, the two more powerful teams against the 2 not from big league teams. Thoughts on, first of all, I think Cruz Azul should take care of business easily tonight. They are going back home, I believe, to play in Cruz Azul. Any doubt that, and we're going to come, I want you to come back, we'll come back to that because I have thoughts on Cruz Azul overall. But in terms of seeing them in champions, is this a Cruz Azul team you think could make a deep run beyond this first round?
I don't think so. I feel like they're going to try to go for it, but I don't think that they have it in them. They're eventually going to have to fall. I mean, they're strong, but I think they're just trying to sell it. I mean, eventually they're going to fall. And I mean, they only won 2-1, although it was
both in stoppage time too, which was crazy.
And
both those goals, they were about to lose that game. At 90 minutes, they were losing.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I don't understand. Why did it go all the way to 90 plus 9 minutes?
Yeah, well,
I feel like
CONCACAF refs for you.
I feel like that game was kind of given to them because there is no reason it should go all the way to 90.
And here's some stats for you. Cruz Azul against Portmore. All right, Cruz Azul had 30 shots. 30 shots, only 9 of which were on target, but possessed the ball. This is insane. 70% of the time. So obviously Portmore's 30. They outpassed Portmore 568 to 240. Their pass accuracy was 85% to their 65%. They were the same on fouls, so you can't blame fouls. The same on yellow cards, 1 each. Okay? And had 14 corners. And you score at 90 plus 5 with Pasarini and with Rodriguez, 90 plus 9. Portland Oregon scored with Ronnie Smith in the 74th. I agree. I mean, like I said, let's actually table that. We'll come back to Cruz Azul because we'll talk about if they're real or fake. I think you guys know where we stand on them, but we'll talk about them in Liga MX in a second. So that game is tonight. Let's see if the CONCACAF refs want to hand Cruz Azul another one or not. Another interesting one for me was Atlanta, as I mentioned, in Motagua. Atlanta United, we know is a strong MLS team. Seemed to have their hands full against what we thought would be a lesser opponent. Both scored early and then did nothing late. Joseph Martinez with the 1 goal for Atlanta United. Do you think Atlanta could be able? We are shifting back to Atlanta. I'm going to go with the home on this one. Good environment. I think Atlanta can at least edge them out by a goal and get out of this round.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to walk away with a win. I just feel like Atlanta's one of those teams where they were strong at first, but I don't know. I feel like something's going on there that they haven't really been the team that they were before. But I mean, they haven't started their MLS season, so maybe I guess this is more. Even though I'm pretty sure they're taking it serious, but I feel like this is more of like a preseason type of thing. But this isn't like they're taking it pretty serious. But I guess they're just trying to get into rhythm right now.
Third matchup was against Leon from Liga MX and LAFC, so we finally see 2 strong opponents each other. And LAFC, who's quickly becoming one of my most annoying fan bases because they think that they're just amazing, and they haven't proved anything title-wise. Sorry. Leon humbled them, I think, a little bit, slapped them around a little bit. 2-0 victory. LAFC, I'm sorry, just looked outclassed. LAFC is supposed to be one of the premier teams of the MLS. Leon just basically had their way with them. There wasn't much to say about that.
I feel like LAFC kind of thought that they were going to go in and try and win it just because they have Vela, but I'm sorry. Vela doesn't know how Mexican soccer is or works. So obviously, and after seeing the highlights of that game, LAFC, I do not know what is wrong with your defense. Your defense is just probably the worst defense I've seen. You only have offense. So I don't think LAFC is going to be able to crawl out of this. Although I would like to see LAFC come back and win just because I don't like Leon. Yeah. But, I mean, I think Leon has this one in the bag. I mean, they're going down to LAFC.
They'll be at LA after the next leg.
Yeah.
Another random matchup. We saw Saprissa, who's pretty much a usual. If you're looking for a non-MLS and non-Liga MX team to be in CONCACAF Champions, Saprissa's usually been in there. They got matched up. I thought it was a favorable matchup for them for the first time ever against Montreal Impact, who I had to look up as to why the hell Montreal Impact was in there, and I forgot it's because they were Canadian. Yeah, the Canadian champions, because Toronto, which is stupid because they play the MLS. Played a 2-2 draw. I think in my mind, I view this more as a disappointment for Saprissa. But if you're a Montreal fan, you could say, oh, hey, we came out of this at least even with a fair match going back to Montreal. I don't know. Saprissa had to work for it late. They're one team, as I said, I like to see it. If I'm going to see a non-MLS, non-Liga MX team move on, I'd like to see them finally move on because they've always been, gotten a berth but never been able to move on. So, and that I'm not a fan of Montreal. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one, or we can just rely on.
I'm not a big fan of either team, to be honest.
Now, one that involved a team that you are a fan of, and a little bit surprised some people. We had your Tigres match up against Alianza, and it was
from San Salvador.
Not exactly what y'all expected. So, kind of walk us through your thoughts. They lost 2-1 to Alianza. A team Alianza's been up there before in this tournament, but obviously not what you expect. Tigres had plenty of shots. Burata with the goal in the 34th, but then giving up a penalty in the 47th to open up the second half, and then Osvaldo Blanco coming in and getting Alianza the win. Outpossessed them, outpassed them again, better pass accuracy, about a dozen more shots, one more shot than them on target. They had way more fouls. So you look at this on paper and you say, okay, this should have been 2-1 the other way.
Yeah. It should have been 2-1. We obviously had a lot of shots. A lot of those shots should have went in. But Valencia, once again, he scores one game and then he disappears for 5 years, and it's just pissing me off. I'm tired of it. That penalty that they gave Alianza, Carlos Salcedo, I really wish you would leave soccer overall, because you're just bad. You gave up that penalty. You were pushing people. You were fighting with people. Please just leave the team. I hate you, and I swear if I ever see you in Houston, I will punch you in the face.
Do you think there's anything you would have changed as you go back to home, second leg, based on what you saw lineup-wise here? Would you change anything significantly about this lineup?
I would take out Salcedo. I would switch out the defense. Although one of our defensive players was injured, but he's ready to go, so he should be back in. So he should take up that spot. So I'm happy with that. I will take him out. I keep everything the same, but Purata, I would take out Purata. No, I would put Purata in and take out Valencia. Valencia has breakouts, but he just doesn't show it anymore.
He also had a hard time sticking with Blanco.
Yeah.
Blanco, who got the second goal, was kind of having his way with him up top.
Yeah, so I mean, I would rather take out Valencia and put in Purata, because Purata's the one that scored the goal, and it was just a lot of little kid mistakes. It was just very, very annoying to see the way that they were playing. We had shots on goal. We could have scored, but it was just careless. And I need Gignac to wake up, because he's starting to slow down. And this is the one tournament that Tigres needs, and it needs it bad. I would kind of say I want the league, obviously, and I wouldn't mind taking it again. But this is the tournament that I want. Like right now, I'm not worried about the league. I want the CONCACAF Champions League.
Well, and like I said, we'll get to see that tomorrow night. Is already tomorrow night's when they play each other back in Monterrey. Alianza will be on the road playing Tigres.
Yeah, Rudy, you like Salcedo? Guess what? You can leave with Salcedo. Please leave with Salcedo. All right, bye. You can go with Dom too.
Well, we'll come back to your beloved Tigres in a little bit as we talk about the woes back home when it comes to league play. But moving on to someone we both commonly don't like, although Richard likes him. Club America is also in the CONCACAF Champions. And once again, I would argue another disappointment. They did not lose, but came to a tie, a draw, and they did not score till the 90th minute to Cordova getting a late goal against Comunicaciones. And even match in terms of shots and whatnot. Outpossessed them. Like I said, they were on the road. America, who, unlike Tigres and Rayados, has been doing great currently in league play. Little kind of a interesting scenario there. Once again, they do come out tomorrow. We'll see them play, I think, after Tigres plays, or maybe if not before. But they will play tomorrow. Any thoughts on this? I'm still thinking Club America will roll over them, but I just find it interesting that they came out, and it took them this long to get a goal.
I think it was just this was one of the games also with Adidas games where everybody was surprised that Adidas and America didn't go out and win.
Yeah.
But I feel like America is more focused on the league instead of this right now, because they've had bad luck in the past with this Champions League. But after losing the league to Rayados, I feel like they're more focused on that than this. But I don't doubt that they'll go back home and they'll get the win at home. So
yeah,
I think they're gonna walk out with a win. Also, maybe 2. Well, it has to go away 2-0. So it'll end up 3-1.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's gonna be a little overwhelming. No knock on Comunicaciones, but going back to Azteca. Against the Club America team. It'll be interesting. Another kind of wild. This was kind of a wild game. The one high scoring game we had. New York City FC was in there against San Carlos. They're expected to win, but I don't think San Carlos was expected to score this much. 5-3. No shortage of scoring. including Dos Santos for New York FC with the hat trick, including a penalty. Interesting back and forth. Goals all over the place. I've never been real high on either one of the New York teams, Red Bull FC, New York or FC. But this one's interesting. I think they'll take care of it, obviously. 5-3 aggregate going back home. I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I don't know if you think anything, but New York City, for me, this is kind of cannon fodder. I feel like they're going to go to the next round and they're going to be eaten up by somebody. I think NYFC is going to run into a Liga MX team in the next round and get slaughtered.
They basically have it in the bag because, I mean, those 5 away goals, they have it.
Yeah.
And if Tigres wins, it's New York versus Tigres. So that's
just a match of beauty one.
Yeah, and San Carlos, you don't really hear about them, and obviously New York City has always been like one of those strong teams. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's a high-scoring game, and the fact that they let them score 3 goals, it should kind of scare them because they could go in and score 2 road goals, but 5-3, they have it in the bag.
And that game also will be on. We have 4 games total on tomorrow, and that's another one of them.
That one's on Thursday. Yeah, so they play today, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last but not least, our last MLS team that was in action. Our final matchup was Seattle Sounders, reigning champions, taking on Olympia. Olympia, another team that has historically been up there playing with the Champions Leagues. And 2-2 draw in Olympia. Going back to Seattle to close things out. You had a brace from Arboleda and with Mior and Morris, the 2 goals for your Sounders. This one pretty evenly matched on paper. I'll give it to Olympia. They came out and they're at home, and they'll to give yourself a fighting chance, you can't walk out with a loss at home. So I'll give them credit for that. I do think though it'll catch up with them back home in Seattle or on the road in Seattle. I think Seattle will be able to pull away with that.
Yeah, I think Seattle's one of those teams. Them playing at home, it kind of gives them more energy. So I can see Seattle walking away with that one.
Cool. All right, well, that's Champions. A lot to watch if you're interested in that tournament. Lots of games the next 3 days, the 26th, 27th. Actually, no, they're all the 26th, 27th, with the 2 tonight. Actually, 2 tonight and the rest of the week. So next 2 days, lots of CONCACAF soccer. Champions will be down to 8 very quickly. And we'll obviously be able to update you and talk about those, the round of 8 on our anniversary show. So another Champions to talk about. Shifting gears, talking about now we're in Houston, your Houston Dynamo. The MLS season, speaking of MLS teams, kicks off this weekend. Your MLS, your home team, the Houston Dynamo, host LA Galaxy, the new look LA Galaxy. With no more Zlatan. But another guy that soccer fans are familiar with, another interesting one, Mr. Chicharito is going to be coming to Houston on Saturday as the Galaxy kick things off with the Houston Dynamo. So we've talked about the last thing. We're not going to spend too much on this. I just want to spend just a brief second kind of giving each of our opinions on what the outlook is for the team this season, first several games, thinking about that. And if we want to comment on anything else with the MLS, I think there's some interesting moves that have happened. I will say this. Since we aired our last episode, no more major moves from the Dynamo. They did end up shoring up the goalie position, I think, with some decent moves. And with 3 guys, with an international signing, and then bringing in another veteran in Cropper, having 3 guys compete. I don't know. Obviously, the starting lineup hasn't been unveiled yet. I'm curious to see who they're going to go with. But a lot of them are familiar faces. The big new face for your Dynamo is going to be Darwin Quintero coming in with Romel Kyoto obviously gone. I think that's an upgrade for them. I do think I see 2 players getting more playing time under Tab Ramos. I've seen Memo Rodriguez and Fun Mayor finally getting some more chances, which I think is good. Remember, there's also some late signings last season we didn't get to see a lot of. The other guy was signed we haven't seen anything of. Zadok Valentin, defender. I think it'd be a great sub to have. We just saw the beginning, I thought, of Christian Ramirez really bonding with Mauro Manotas. Manotas has not been bought. We thought that was the big scare, that people in Mexico, people in Europe were going to buy him. There were offers out there, but the Dynamo were asking an insane amount of money. I think they're going up to like $16 million or something that people weren't going to pay for Manotas. And then, like I said, they shored up the goal by getting Cody Cropper, bringing back some key veterans in Strunia and Figueroa in defense. Like I said, on paper, and remember, also we didn't get to see a lot of Jose Bizama, the Chilean defender who came in, midfielder, excuse me, but he could play defense. Nico Hansen came in, a guy who has a lot of experience. So there's a lot of good things going for this team on paper, and the questions as they come across the field. I have more confidence, and I guess someone would say, do you really have that much more confidence because Tab Ramos is the coach? And the answer is yes. Everything I've seen and heard from this guy is the right things. I've seen how this team, they've been quietly practicing. They don't strut their stuff out in the media that much. They've been hard at work. Now, the question is, how quickly can this team gel on the field? You saw them, they played a friendly, they did a doubleheader recently where you saw the two sides of what the Dynamo could be. And it wasn't put on here, but they played one against a more minor side. They beat their affiliate, the Toros, 5-0. They played one, I forgot what it was like 3-0. And then they played the Columbus Crew in a friendly and basically got smashed. And so this is what we're seeing is the Jekyll and Hyde that I need them to get rid of. They need to cure and find out who they really are and go forward with that. So it's a lot of questions. Does this team currently have the personnel and makeup to make a deep playoff run? I say the answer is absolutely yes. Will they? TBD. To be determined on what we see. And I will be able to tell you with confidence, by the end of May, I'll be able to tell you if this team is for real or not. Because I need to see about 8 games, maybe 8 to 10 games out of the 34 games. Let me see a third of the season, and I'll know exactly. I'll be able to call it easily with what I see. So, a lot of hopes for them, but can they execute? It's time to shut up and play.
I could see this going two ways for them. They're either gonna, and it's a positive thing, they're either gonna make a run for the league, or I can actually see them walking away with the U.S. Open Cup.
They will play again for a U.S. Open Cup.
So I feel like they could either walk away with it, or they're actually gonna make a run in the league. So I think they have a bright future. I mean, they got their team to where they need it to be. Obviously, they could have made some bigger moves, but I feel like now that they started moving a few pieces here and there, that bigger moves are going to start coming to the Dynamo. They're going to start spending some money, and they actually have a bright future. And I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up in the semis for the league and have a chance at making it to the final, which I wouldn't be surprised because, I mean, I don't think it'll take that long for the coach to actually settle and lock in with the lineup that he needs. Because this is somebody that's just not jumping around with player to player trying to figure out what lineup is going to work one game and what lineup is not going to work the next game. He's actually coming up with a lineup, and he's actually crafting it to where it's perfect, not crafting it, all right, let's change it next game. No, he's building it up, creating it, and he's working on his craft to where it's going to be spot on what he needs, and he can go out every game, unless like an injury, but he can go out every game, go on the road, get the wins, and then come back home and get the wins that he needs. So it should be pretty interesting.
It'd be interesting how Tab handles it, because this is a team on paper with having so many guys. It can be tempting to tinker with. What I mean by that is to constantly kind of moving around. And we saw a lot of that with Wilmer Cabrera, changing little things constantly. And we kept saying, dang it, go back to this lineup, stick with this lineup. Oh no, let me try this one guy, let me try this guy. I'm with you. I think Tab Ramos is going to be more stable in that. I think you got to give lineups more than just a game or two to see if they're for real.
Like, it's okay losing 1 or 2 games, but as long as you keep the same lineup, like, all right, say you lose like the first 2 games, keep the same lineup. That's where you go and build it. You don't just lose 1 game and then change it up again, because you're not fixing anything. You're just substituting it, expecting for that one change to make a fix. No, you have to look it through and see if it's actually going to make a change or not.
And so, any thoughts on I'm sure your favorite player. Any thoughts on the Chicharito mania that's now taken over LA Galaxy? Is it going to make a difference out there? Is he going to be Zlatan Part 2?
No, I think I think his career is actually coming to an end. I mean, I'm not saying you see a lot of big players, like they come from Europe and down, but Chicharito has never, in my eye, he's never been one of those players that stood out to me so much. I don't support him like a lot of other people. They support him. Oh, he's Mexican. Support him. I could give a rat's ass. He is not good in my eye. His goals. People think he's good because he went to Real Madrid. No, he's not good. He's not good at all.
Yeah. And I will say this: I'm interested to see how they come out. Dynamo usually have a good turnout for their opener. We won't be there because we'll be at the rodeo doing our cook-offs thing. But it'd be interesting to see kind of it's the most excited the Dynamo crowd can be. Day one, opening day. You have a big star comes out. I like to see how this team comes out. I mean, right off the bat, day one, February 29th. You got the LA Galaxy. You got what's supposed to be on paper, one of the better teams this year. How do you play them? What's also going to go to their benefit, I didn't like their schedule last year. There were too many long stretches on the road and away. And we know this team has historically been pathetic on the road. I do like this season, look at the schedule. It's a lot more balanced. There's a lot of this year back and forth. Home, away, home, away, home, away. There's only a couple stretches early on. There's a 3-game stretch at home, which is nice, followed by an equally 3-game stretch on the road. We don't have like last season where there was almost entire months that they were either away or were here. It's really spread out this year. I think this team is good like that because as this team does not do well when they are away from BBVA for too long. So just saying that. They do have a difficult, this West is not getting any easier. They will play both new teams this year. We'll see them. We'll be at the Inter Miami game when they're here with them all loaded up in April. And then they will early on in May see the new team from Nashville. But other than that, they got their usual slate of some tough Western opponents. Play the LA teams a grand total of 4 times, 2 each. The usual rivalry with in-state FC Dallas. They got Seattle twice. They got Portland twice. Salt Lake, who is a playoff team next year, multiple times. So this ain't going to be easy, but I think they can hang, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond to any adversity or not. I think this is going to be a team that, unlike last year, was so amazing to start. I think they're going to have a shaky start. That's why I'm saying by a third in, I'm going to be able to see, because I think this team, when they get to the middle part of their schedule, if they can hit a stride, really when you get to that mid-May, that first Dallas game, the first time they played Dallas is on the road, and they got new Nashville coming in, LAFC, Atlanta. Heck, you string some win-togethers in there, that will give you some nice momentum going into the summer when you get to play teams like Salt Lake, Colorado at home, New England at home. You could really get and rack up some points pretty quickly. Yeah. So I think the middle part of this season is going to be critical. Survive the first, figure out your lineup. You're shaky. Get out of it at a 500 type record. Fine. Survive the first 2.5 months, but then really let's start steamrolling when you get to May. I think that's going to be the key for this team. Are they going to do that? Only time will tell. Yeah. So, all right, let's shift gears just because of time. Let's get into our friends who like to talk about Liga MX and their comments. Interesting as always. As you know, you're going to have 2 people here talking to you that currently aren't happy about their teams. But then again, that's the beauty, the gift and the curse of Liga MX. It will taketh away as quickly as it giveth. And even though I support the current champions are in dead last place. So that's how your fortunes go up and down. Let us not forget, though, that Monterrey was not last place, but pretty bad last year and had to sneak in the 8th seed with an amazing last month. Not saying they're going to do that again. I get that, different season, but interesting setup. Going down the line, let's get your current lineup in Liga MX. We are 7 in. Week 8 starts this Friday. Club America is standing on top there, the runners-up from last year, with 16 points. Leon is number 2 with 15. Pumas, number 3 with 14. Cruz Azul, which we'll come back to, number 4 with 13. And then you have Querétaro, number 5 with 12. Atlético San Luis, only their second season, also with 12 points. In 6th place, another new team, their second season, Juarez has been playing to go with 11 points, 7th place. Santos rounds out your top 8 in 11th place. If you go down from that, we're bunched up once again because only 1 point behind them is 9th place Pachuca with 10. Chivas in 10th place with 9. Necaxa with 8 points, followed by Monarcas with 8. Tigres all the way down to number 13 right now with 7. Puebla at 14 with 7. Toluca with 6. Tijuana 6. Atlas 6. And my Rayados with 3. Have not won a game yet. 3 ties and a bunch of losses. So that's where we are for 7 matches. Whew. Where do you want to start with this one? We want to start at the top or start at the bottom? I'll let you choose that. We can work our way up either way or work our way down.
That's where we start at the top.
So, Club America, for real or not for real?
I think they're still on the stride that they were in last season. I mean, you can't really expect less from them. America's always been a team that's up there, so I think they're trying to go out and prove a point to where they're like, hey, we should have won that final, but we didn't. Mm-hmm. And we're still a team that has talent, so let's go out and get the points that we need, and it's kind of good for them because I mean, they stack up points early on to where they also play the CONCACAF Champions League, so they're able to put some attention over there and then lose a few games here. So
right.
I think they're doing a pretty good job.
Another team that you're not a big fan of, but they're currently sitting in 2nd place. All the difference between them and America is the same number of wins, but they both had losses where America's had a draw. Leon is sitting there in 2nd place right now. A team that we're used to seeing hovering around the top. How do you see them going forward as we approach the mid-season mark?
I think they're pretty good. I mean, Leon's one of those teams that's always, for some reason, they're always sticking around. They're always like Tigres and Rayados and America. They're always one of those teams that stick around. I feel like they substituted Toluca. Toluca was always up there. I feel like Leon kind of took that spot, and they're good. I mean, they're a solid team. They have talented players, and I feel like they're doing the same thing that America is doing. You get as many wins as you can, and then shed some focus somewhere else.
Right. 2 teams I always like to talk about together because I feel like they're almost the same teams with a different name, and that is Pumas and Cruz Azul. Pumas currently in 3rd place with 14 and Cruz Azul with 13 in 4th place. The reason I say this, these are what I call perennial late losers in that they always look good early on. They get you excited. Their fan bases start talking a lot of crap. They get real cocky. And then they hit about that week 11 or 12 and they crash to earth. Is there any reason why either one of these teams will not do the exact same thing that they always do?
Pumas is going to fall. I don't see Pumas staying up there in 3rd. Cruz Azul, I'm not completely sold. You have to get me to that week 11. I'm not completely sold on them. I feel like they'll end up maybe in 8th place. They're talented, but I'm not completely sold on them.
What's crazy is they only have 2 losses. They lost week 1 and 2 to Atletico San Luis. To Atlas, who's towards the bottom, and Atletico San Luis in week 2, who's actually surprisingly doing really well. They haven't lost again since, and so that was back on January 17th. They're going on about 6 weeks now, 5 going on 6 weeks without a loss. A win, there was a tie one time, but all wins, and then going into that. So very interesting as they go forward. They do play tonight. They have to turn around. After playing tonight, they got on Tuesday. They got a turnaround Friday and play Monarcas in match day 8. They have Tijuana, and then an interesting matchup, as you said, we'll know by week 11. Because by week 11, they'll play Club America in week 10, and they'll have another easy opponent in Puebla, and then Cruz Azul and Pumas meet in week 12. So I think we'll definitely know by that point where they stand. So next time we talk to y'all, they're going to play the day after we have our next episode, our first show. That'll be on the eve of them playing Club America. It'll be interesting to see if they rack up 2 more wins and they're actually challenging Club America for maybe a top position.
Yeah.
So those are those 2. Another one, last season, was up there. In fact, in the top 3 most of the time, but then fell. Querétaro has come back and proven that, I'll give them this, they're not a fluke. They're a decent squad. They've been stayed in the top 8. Can Querétaro's luck change at all this year, or are we kind of seeing Querétaro be Querétaro? Are they the new Cruz Azul or Pumas? You know what I'm saying? Do well but crash late.
No, I think they're gonna stay up there. I mean, I don't see them going all the way up to like first, second, third, or fourth. They'll probably be in the top, like the bottom half of the like 8, 7, 6, 5. I can see them fitting in there like they always do, but they did lose a few players here and there. But I mean, they're still maintaining like the talent that they had and everything that they had going for them. So I'm not really surprised with them. You always see them mixing themselves in at the top. So that's one of the teams where there's like no surprise and there's no letdown. They're stable. They're basically on cruise control like they've always been.
Two teams who were new to us last year. They did a decent showing. They didn't finish last, at least. Unlike Veracruz types of business. Atletico San Luis and Juarez have come out swinging this year, doing decently, coming out after 7 games, both of them with 3 wins. Atletico San Luis a little bit better with 3 draws, only 1 loss on the season. Interesting to see. I guess the question for me on this one, out of these 2 newbies, who do you think has the best chance of sticking around? Well, I will note that Juarez is also currently going to be playing in Copa MX. So, your thoughts on that?
I actually think Atletico San Luis is going to be one of those teams that actually sticks around.
Right.
Juarez, I don't see them sticking around. San Luis is one of those teams that they actually did good last year. The way that they played last year kind of showed, even though like they had some trouble here and there with like their actual team and their fan base. But Juarez, I'm not completely sold on them. San Luis is one of those teams where like, all right, you guys actually have talent, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to kind of skip around on the rest of this. I mean, you look at some of these guys, Pachuca and Chivas, hovering around 9 and 10. What's new? Necaxa, the same thing. Once again, we'll talk about our teams real quick. I mean, maybe we're biased if people want to talk about others. I'm sorry, I don't feel like talking about Puebla right now. But Tigres hovering around down at 13th, only with 7 points. As I said, put this into perspective for everyone. 7 points right now is only 4 out of the playoffs. Only 4 out of the playoffs. We are still early. The only team that's actually really legitimately behind is Rayados, who only have 3 points. They're now legitimately 3 full games, out of really getting into the mix into the playoffs. So that's a big mountain. Tigres, Puebla, Monarcas, Necaxa, Chivas all have chances to get up there. Plenty of soccer to play. What do you think is the one thing that is preventing Tigres from breaking through this year? They are clearly in a slump.
I don't know what's going on with them. I think Tigres is coming to a point to where they have to kind of get rid of some of these players already because they've been with Tigres for a while. But I think it's a part of me is saying it's time to clean out the house, and then a part of me is saying they're still trying to get in the rhythm. But I mean, we're 7 games in. We only have 7 points. We should be top 8. If anything, we should be sitting at 8. But I feel like they're kind of having a slow start, but I have a feeling this upcoming weekend, I think this is where they're going to start getting the ball rolling, and they're going to shift into gear to where they need to be.
In terms of my team, Ferreros, I have no answer. I mean, call it champions hangover. I don't know. They just don't care. It's been pathetic what they've been doing on the field. We'll get to in a second. They're doing okay. Obviously, they're in the semifinals of Copa MX, so that's really what they got to put their money on if they want to walk away with something right now in the spring. Because the season ain't happening for them right now at all. I mean, they've just been beat, plain and simple. Your matchup for this week, if you're curious what to watch on television, on Friday night you got Atletico San Luis versus Juarez, the 2 new teams playing each other, duking it out in that 6th and 7th position. Monarcas and Cruz Azul, so once again, can Cruz Azul on the road prove that they're for real? And Tijuana and Puebla round out your Friday night. Saturday you'll have Pachuca versus Querétaro, America, Necaxa. I think a critical game for Tigres playing Pumas. Can we battle the cats, if you will? Let's see if we can do and see if Tigres at home, if they don't beat Pumas at home, I think that is, I think you would even admit that's a red flag midway because you're in the midway point.
Yeah.
Toluca's at home against Rayados. Once again, I think it's a do or die. This one, every game is do or die for them in last place. Chivas and Leon, an interesting matchup, I think, because like I said, Chivas always on the verge of being for real or being fake.
Chivas is for real.
Let's see what they can do. And Santos and Atlas will round out your Sunday evening. One last thing with Mexican soccer and those teams will be Copa MX. We recently had the quarterfinals, and we got it down to a final 4 teams that will be playing actually between now and the next our next episode, our anniversary show. On March 3rd, you're going to see Tijuana in the semifinals, Leg 1 against Toluca, and they'll turn around and play Leg 2 on the 10th. Juarez will play host to Rayados in the other semifinal matchup in the 11th. So by the time we meet on the 14th for our anniversary show, we'll have a final of Copa MX set. Your thoughts on those 2 matchups? I mean, Tijuana, Toluca, like I said, all these teams Liga MX, ironically, Juarez is the best one in league play right now. So I'll tell you this, let's make it easy. I think Monterrey is all in because they got nothing else to lose, like say, playing in the league. I think Rayados will make it to the final. I think Juarez, come on. If they do, it's a huge disappointment. Wad up this whole spring season, pack it up for the summer. Rayados, go home, let's just not even play. Okay? That's my thing if they can't beat Juarez in 2 legs. 2 legs where you get the second leg at home. The only one that's a toss-up for me is Tijuana and Toluca. I don't know. They're both low down there.
I'm taking Toluca. I don't know. The highlights that I've seen from Toluca,
No one's impressive.
No one's impressive, but
there we go. Pull it up.
They have one player that I have been paying attention to, and they're borrowing him from Tigres, Leo Fernandez. He has been killing it. He has been scoring all the goals for them. So
they scored 5 in their last game. They're coming off a 7-3 aggregate over Pachuca. Tijuana coming over a 3-1 aggregate over Monarcas, and their second leg was a 0-0 draw. So Toluca's definitely scoring in bunches right now. Castañeda had a brace, Estrada had a brace, Canelo with the single goal. They were kind of just rolling all over Pachuca.
Yeah, steamrolling.
So yeah, I think it's safe to say I think I'd like to see I think a Toluca Rayados final for Copa MX could be interesting, where you have a team in Rayados who's backs against the wall if you want anything to get. And actually, both teams, all these teams don't have much to look forward to in the regular season, in the regular tournament. So if you want to salvage something to start 2020, this is it. So everybody's very motivated. I think you should see some pretty interesting all-out games, and I think you're going to see these teams ignore when it comes to that week. Forget about they're going to care about their league matchups the week before this. They're going to be all in on these games. Definitely come out to start. And we'll be able to see. Upstart Juarez, they're the highest one right there. I think they're going to give Rayados a run. I really are, because I do think the Rayados team I saw against Santos the other night, although they only won 1-0 and they were playing a man down, they got red carded. That was the playoff Rayados I saw just win a championship. Where that team is during the regular season, I have no idea. They're just phoning it in. And it makes no sense to me. They scored early, and we just kind of parked the bus the whole time. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with him.
It's just weird.
I wouldn't be surprised if Juarez came in and won that game, but if that's the case in Monterrey, I think it's best that they just pack up and call it. Cause
I'm done with it for this year if that happens.
Yeah, because, if you can't go all in for one thing and you basically you lose one thing and you're at the bottom of the other, there's really not much you can tell them, because it's pretty bad the way that they've been looking.
And this is going to be I'll be honest with you, the first challenge for, Santos was the first challenge for Rayados. They had a pretty easy cakewalk before that. Juarez has had Dorados, and who else they played before? They've played a few, Querétaro, they beat to get here. So it's kind of a first kind of challenge for both of them. So anyways, the final will be played in April, but we'll know the final before our next game. So last but not least, let's do a rapid fire and real quick on this on our 5 Euro leagues. We kind of talked about a lot of these teams already, but we're getting to the point where we're basically down to the final 10 games or so in Europe. So we got about 2 months left of European soccer, a little bit more than that. But let's go through, and I want you to tell me, kind of rapid fire, any surprises, or do you think there's going to be any potential upsets coming? First one I think is an easy one. Premier League, Liverpool sitting at 76 points. Any hope that anybody does anything? No one's going to approach them, but in second place, you got Man City with 57 points. They're that far behind. Third place, Leicester City with 50, Chelsea 44, Man U 41, Tottenham 40. The battles for second place. Can anybody catch Man City?
I don't see that happen. Well,
I mean, both are running away with this race. By the way, a plus 39 goal differential and 57 points for Man City is only good enough for second place. Know why? Because Liverpool has 76 points and a plus 46.
Yeah.
Plus 46. In 24 games, I mean, the average goals, like I said, they've slowed down late, but that shows you where they were to begin with. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're going to walk away with it, I'm pretty sure.
Let's go all the way down. The only other league that's kind of a blowout is France, obviously. PSG at 65, Marseille with 52, Rennes at 49. PSG's going to run with it as they always do. I don't care. It's the Mind League. It's stupid. The other three big five in Europe are they are going to be interesting races here in the next couple weeks. First of all, Serie A. Juventus sitting there with 60 points, plus 24. Lazio, who is scoring like crazy, 59, 1 point out. And even Inter Milan in the third place with 54. There's a big drop-off at Atalanta with 45 and number 4. You got a 3-horse race going into Serie A. We saw this a year or two ago. I think it was last year. We saw Napoli be the one trying to knock off Juventus.
Yeah.
They were coming down to one of the final weeks. Do you think there's a chance that Lazio can do the same? I mean, plus 35. They're scoring like crazy.
There's a slight chance that they could do it, but I don't know. I mean, it's a kind of weird situation, but I don't actually see them like getting up there. I mean, even though they're putting up a fight, I don't think that they can do it.
Right. I mean, Juventus strong. Like I said, the thing about Serie A, if you were looking for a European league to watch that's about scoring, go watch Serie A. These guys score like crazy. It's high-scoring games, more so than any of the other leagues. I think it's something that makes them unique. They're offense-centered. I am interested. What I'm more interested in is actually about those two. Is that can Inter Milan, who I think is a talented squad and was strong to start with, is only 2 games out from first, 5 points from second. It'd be really interesting to see if they get this. I'd love to see a true three-way race shootout at the end to end this in the season. Let's skip over to let's go north, go to Germany, the Bundesliga. Bayern is sitting there with 49. Leipzig, who we saw doing well in Champions League with that first win, at 48. Dortmund is in third place with 45. Bayern's been the perennial favorite as always. So kind of the same question. Can Dortmund or Leipzig unseat the Kings? Because the Kings of Germany have been so far Bayern Munich.
I feel like Dortmund might get up there to where they could kind of pull it away from Bayern. And I would actually like to see that. But at the same time, you can't really count Leipzig out. Leipzig out is one of those strong teams too. So I feel like it might just be like Serie A where it's 3-way tie. Who's going to take it?
Only other teams that have a shot in the Bundesliga, the team I love to say their name every time, Mönchengladbach and Bayer are the only 2 teams at 43 that would have a prayer. They're two out. A lot of games to play. Bundesliga is always fun to watch, so we'll see what happens there. Last but not least, this one I think is the most interesting race because I think you have a true race developing here. La Liga, with your perennial favorites on top, Barcelona with 55, Madrid with 53. Atletico Madrid and Sevilla both hanging around with 43. Now, I don't think it's a lot for Atletico or Sevilla. I don't think they're going to come out there at the top. Even more reason for Atletico Madrid to go all in on the Champions League. However, the reason I say it's interesting, in the past I say, it's a shoo-in. But I think Barcelona will pull away. But I'm not too sure now with both these teams, because neither one of them are really convincing to me. These are both relatively weak teams, and I'm not weak for their standards.
Yeah.
They are having off years. I tend to always lean Barcelona off of Madrid's track record, but I don't know. I mean, with 10 games to play and only a 2-point lead, the La Liga race is going to get real interesting. If these 2 teams slip, Atletico Madrid will be there to clean it up, or even Sevilla.
No, yeah, but I'm gonna actually say Barcelona can actually lock it in. I mean, Madrid just kind of faded away from me. They haven't really been in the race anymore, in my opinion. I think it's just always going to be Barcelona now, ever since they lost Ronaldo. Even though that they're up there right now, Madrid's one of those teams to where they start losing games. They'll start losing like 3 games in a row. So
they get these bizarre losing streaks. I do think there's a correlation to see what happens in Champions with them. If either one of them gets knocked out of the round of 16, they're obviously going to be more invested in what's going on at home.
I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those two teams make it into the Champions League.
I wouldn't either. What's interesting, I just wanted to look at recently, Barcelona only recently surged to that lead. They've won their last 4 games. Madrid's had a loss and a tie, and then 3 wins before that. So this is fairly recent. Like, so they're 25 matches in. Almost, like I said, only off on points a little bit. Barcelona has definitely been scoring a lot more. The offense is still there. Almost 20 more goals around Madrid. So they've been outscoring almost every team in La Liga. It's nuts. And scoring's been an issue for Atletico Madrid a little bit. So, yeah, interesting to watch. All these leagues are in full form. They'll be kicking up this weekend. So this is one of those rare parts of the year where this weekend, for the first time, you'll have every single league in the world pretty much, domestic league in action. Every European league, Liga MX in Mexico, MLS. Everything's going to be in action. All the other countries are having their leagues in action. So it's kind of that weird, rare point that it's like literally there's a soccer game going on around the world at almost like any given hour.
Yeah.
So it's nice if if you just want to watch soccer, period. So with that's what we got for this week, guys, for this month, episode 32. Remember, episode 33, I just want to promote one more time, and I'll turn it over to Raul if he wants to say some things, because he's going to be our crawfish chef extraordinaire as he was last year. There's some good crawfish you missed out if you weren't here last year. Our anniversary show, we're going to be starting year 4. We've been doing this for almost 3 years and kicking off year 4 on March 14th. We'll be hosting a crawfish bowl, a live show at 3 p.m. And then after that show, we'll be going straight into having a crawfish bowl, having a good time, good drinks, and just hanging out and kicking it. We'll have March Madness on the TV, so even if soccer's not your thing, afterwards we'll have basketball on the TV. So we'll have all sorts of stuff going on and have a good time. So if you check out Texas Soccer Live Facebook page, there is an event that was created on there. Pay attention this weekend. We'll be kind of showing some teasers of our new Year 4 logo and stuff, and we'll be promoting the event. But seriously, if you want to be counted in, you want crawfish, on the drinks, you want to come hang with us, want to be on the show, whatever, make sure you send me a message, send Raul a message, send the page a message. Like the event, like say you're going to the event, we need to have a count going out from there. So we're looking forward to having that. I don't know if you want to say anything else about the anniversary.
Just pay attention to the page. We're gonna be putting stuff out. Reach out to me or to Sean Celeste over here or Richard Romero on our Facebooks. Yeah. Reach out, send us a message, and we'll add you to the event. It's basically. It's like a sporting event. Come out and bring out a soccer jersey or whatever. Wear your favorite team. Well, if you're not really into like the whole soccer thing, there's March Madness. There's gonna be sports. Come out and we'll be making crawfish and stuff for everybody. It was good last year. People came out, sat down, had a few drinks, ate some crawfish. So it was a good environment, good time. So come out and celebrate with us. It should be fun. Come and kick off spring break with us. Spring break vibes. 2K.
Spring break.
2K.
2K20.
2K20. We're taking it back to 05.
Oh, Lord.
So,
really, here's one by coming on here. Astros aren't the only one, and someone said cheated. Okay, Buffalo Wild Wings, we won't be going to your establishment anytime soon.
Promote the money.
I'm not promoting that. No. You can pull up with the moneymaker and you can tow the people who blocked my driveway and blocked the street that night. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Juan, for your random comments at the end. I'm sure you watched the whole show. Yeah, right. Yeah. Speaking of watching the whole show, not only is this going to be available on Here to Watch, Richard does a good job of uploading all of our episodes. You can find Texas Soccer Live pretty much everywhere now. He uploads all the old episodes and his features on YouTube. Just search Texas Soccer Live. It's its own channel there. Richard and I try and maintain our Twitter page as much and tweet out stuff and share stuff that we see that are interested that we see tweeted out and retweet stuff. And then obviously if you're watching us now, you're watching us on Facebook. Facebook page is where it started in the Facebook Live. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube are kind of the 3 big ones. And so yeah, that's about it. So without further ado, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Raul or Richard and I will post the times you want to go back to a specific topic. We will see you for year 4, March 14th. Be there for Raul Villarreal. I'm Sean Telez. Peace. See you later. Kick it.